Hey y'all, what's up? Thank you for tuning into this video. Today's video is going to be all about how I lay my wigs from beginning to end. This wig is a wig that I constructed myself using a 13x6 frontal and 4 bundles. So to get started with this process, we're going to pin down our wig, and the things that you'll be needing first is just a couple clips, a nice big paddle brush, and tweezers of course, and some T-pins to lock down the wig. I'm going ahead, not doing anything fancy, just getting a nice strong grip on the wig and using the T-pins to secure it down. That way we can begin to pluck. Also, down below in the description bar, I've taken the time to kind of create a table of contents for you so you can follow along with what parts you need and yada yada yada. So we're going to go ahead and start to begin to pluck the hairline of our frontal. I'm taking a little slither hair. It's maybe like a 1/16 of an inch, not very thick at all. And I am securing that and pinning this to the front of the wig. And this hair that we're sectioning off first is going to serve as our baby hair. We want to clip this off first. That way we can pluck behind it to create a natural hairline behind the baby hair. So I'm just taking my slant tip tweezers. These aren't the really sharp ones, they're more smoother edge, and I'm beginning to pluck my hairline in a backwards motion, kind of to say. I'm pulling it back in an angle, and I'm doing this very gently. You don't want to use tweezers that are extremely sharp, because when you have a thin lace, it can rip and tear your tweezers if you're not careful. This process is not sped up at all, so you can kind of like see how fast I'm moving and the process of me tweezing the hair. So this hair is completely dry while I'm tweezing it. Sometimes when the hair is wet and you try to tweeze it first, it just makes it kind of more difficult to see exactly what you're plucking and how much hair you're removing from it. So now you just want to take your brush and brush out that hair so you can see what you're doing and so forth. So my frontal has not been bleached yet. I like to pluck a little bit before I bleach the hair, just because when you bleach your knots, it makes the hair weaker. So I go ahead and like to pluck some out before I bleach it. The biggest question most people ask when plucking your frontal is, how much hair do you pluck? That's a preference. I like a more fuller hairline, so I don't pluck as much, but I do pluck. That way it still looks natural. You have to have an eye for it. You have to have a picture in your head of what you're going for. So, you know, you can look up on Pinterest and Instagram and look up close at the scalp. Or you can look at your own scalp to see how much hair you want out and how much hair you want to lay. So as you can see, every so often when I get done plucking a little bit, I'll go back and I'll brush the hair out. And now I'm going to speed it up just for this part, just so the video is not too crazy lengthy. But it's basically the same process over and over until you get that desired look of how much hair you want plucked out from your frontal. The key thing is plucking in little amounts, and then you can go back and get some more, because once you plucked it out, you can't put it back in. And like I said, there's no exact way or straight way that you begin plucking. I just start at the end and work my way across from left to right. As long as your hand is constantly moving, you'll be fine. Don't overthink it. It's not as hard as it seems. You just want to go in and take your time and remove the hair. So this is where I like to begin and kind of like end this first part of plucking my hairline with just a little bit of work to it. You can clearly see the difference. Here is this side, and then here is the untouched right hand side. My frontal came pre-plucked a little bit, which is why it looks like that, but you can clearly see a difference in the two sides. So now we're gonna go in and begin to pluck the hair from our baby hairs. This is practically the same way. It's kind of hard for me to hold the tweezers in this video, that way it's all on camera, but you do it the same way. You want to hold the hair taut, pulling it back away from the hairline, and you just want to go in and begin to pluck the exact same way, taking your time little by little. So sometimes how I like to visualize is just take a little piece and act like I'm swooping it back as if I'm making my baby hairs at the moment, and I like to flip it back and forth, you know, just so I can see and get an idea of how it's looking. That way I can better eyeball it and see, oh, I need to take a little bit more from here, take a little bit from here, and so forth on. So now that the left hand side is finished, I'm just going on to complete sections 2 and 3, plucking it backwards and brushing it out the exact same way as I mentioned before. And I will be back after I finish these sections. So just as a reference, this is the amount of hair that I took out from the hairline itself, not from the entire frontal, just the hairline. To bleach my knots, I'm using the Clariol Pure White Cream Developer 40 Volume and the L'Oreal High Performance Quick Blue Extra Strength Powder Lightener. And I'm just taking about 2 scoops of the powder and about a little less than 1 scoop of the liquid, because you want this to be thicker than you normally would for regular lightening purposes. And I'm just mixing this up in a styrofoam cup, that way I can throw it all away when I'm finished. And I want it to be thicker than usual so that it doesn't seep through the lace. So here is the lace. Like I said, it's a 13x6 frontal, and we're going to apply this in a nice thick even layer. I'm not going to leave it on crazy long. I'm just applying 1 layer, leaving it on for about 5 to 6 minutes, if that. You want to tend to watch it, that way it doesn't lift up on you too fast. And yeah, you want to be careful when you're bleaching your knots, because it does lift the color of the lace. This is a light brown lace. It's a little bit too light for me, but I'll show you how I tint my lace and get my lace to the correct color after we bleach and shampoo. So now we're just covering it up with foil, and we're going to let her sit for, like I said, about 5 minutes. So I'll be using the purple shampoo to tone my knots. I'll be using the Garnier Whole Blends Honey Treasures to shampoo the first time, the Bedhead Moisturizer shampoo for our second one, and I'm taking this hair mask on the actual lace, and then I'm conditioning the hair, mixing these 2 conditioners together. And this is just how I like to start my wigs off, only when it's the first wig. So this shampoo is going to tone those knots up just to make sure they don't have that brassy feel to them. Sometimes you can get that when you bleach, although this is the blue lightener and it's very rare that that's going to happen. But, you know, safety is best. Okay, so y'all excuse the pimple cream all over my face, but it's maintenance day. My wig has been air dried, and this is my first time putting it on since plucking a little bit and so forth on. So this is the hair, this is the lace, this is what we look like. And now we're gonna get into cutting our lace and trimming it to fit our scalp. Okay, so you want to go ahead and adjust the wig, that way it fits your head properly. Make sure the edges are evened up, make sure it's all lined up. You can do this by just taking the lace and checking it on both sides. So I'm taking this little curved edge razor from 1907, and I am just taking one more look at my hairline, that way I can see where I'm going. I start by ripping a little hole about 1/8 of an inch before we get to the actual lace, and I start to carve it through. I do like to leave a little bit of my lace, and I mean like a tiny little bit, maybe like 3 dots of my lace ahead of my wig, just in case I want to melt it down. But for the most part, this wig is going to be glueless. So I'm just taking the razor and I'm just hacking away at the little holes. That way it kind of makes the lace even thinner. You can get the same result instead of using like hair razor. You can use like an eyebrow razor, or you can use like a nail clipper or a little cuticle scissor, which I'm going to show you what I do with the cuticle scissor momentarily, but you can get the same effect by using those other mentioned items. Okay, so you see the little flyaway pieces, the really jagged edge pieces that aren't so smooth. That's what I take this little cuticle scissor for, and I just trim that off and get it nice and smooth and even and flawless. So here we are. This is the wig all cut up and fitting perfectly. Now I'm taking my Maybelline Fit Me powder and the Super Stay powder, and I'm using this to tint my lace. I'm not using any fancy lace tint or anything like that. I'm just going in with this powder and I'm really blending it into the lace. Looks like that, and I'm pulling it down to my forehead so you can actually see that it matches. To flat iron my wig, I'm taking my cheat oil and my flat iron, just real simple, little comb chase method, and that's it. I'm going ahead and parting my frontal straight down the middle. Y'all know how hard it is to get a perfect bone straight part, because you look at it from a different angle and it's crooked again. Well, at least for me it is. So once my part is nice and defined, I'm just going to be going in and redefining the part. So I'm taking my tweezers and I'm just taking out a little bit more of the hair just so it looks a little bit wider, because my natural part is a little bit wider but still fairly full. So I'm just taking a little bit out from the center and from the edges of the frontal. And to get that bone straight effect, I'm just taking my hot comb. This is an electric hot comb. I recommend one off the stove, but my one from the stove is broken and I'm waiting on a new one. So this will do. So now we're going to go back in and we are going to actually cut and define our baby hair. I'm just taking that section that we already plucked from, that same about 1/8, 1/16 of an inch section of hair, but bringing that back out, and we're going to go ahead and trim it using the same razor that I used to cut my lace. So first I like to make sure it's nice and straight and it's flat using my hot comb. And I just do this in a very jagged way. I don't, have any method of doing this. I like my baby hair a little bit longer, that way I can actually swoop them, because I'm not the best at baby hair, but I do what I can do it. And I'm taking my Nairobi foaming lotion, and I use this to mold the hair back and also to slay the edges. So I like pre-molding my edges like this, just because in my opinion it makes it so much simpler when you put your wig on later, especially if you got makeup on, because it is the worst getting edge control all over your forehead with makeup on, and that's just tacky. So I take my Eco Gel just to lock it down and make sure that it's nice and holding and it's in place, and I'm just gonna let all of this air dry overnight, and that's basically how I do my edges. Nothing spectacular, nothing too crazy, and yeah. So that just about does it for this video. Here is the final product of the wig on the head, and this is it on my head. No filter, no editing, no nothing, just raw lace. It's not glued down. This is a glueless unit that I made. And this is just a little snap video showing you that, you know, it is glueless. There's no got to be spray. I didn't do anything else to my edges. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it helped you out, and I'll see you next time.